No tour for you, America. Budget battles may have been canceled at the White House, but canceled the tours of the White House. But the Easter egg roll will go on the 1st of April. This despite warnings that the event could also be canceled. 35,000 expected to be on the South Lawn with the president and first family. Next week, Karl Rove is a former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President Bush and a Fox News contributor. All this is about money, and it's how we spend it. And it's what we cut to. Okay, Karl, is it a good decision to go forward with this, knowing that school kids in California have been shut out, etc.?
Well, look, it was a bad decision to cancel the White House tours. You can't tell me that in the several tens of billions of dollars budget of the Homeland Security Department, you couldn't have found $74,000 a week to continue the White House tours. Cut out some conferences, cut out some waste, cut out some, some phony programs, and fund the White House tours. But having made that decision, it would be made, in my opinion, even worse if you canceled the historic Easter egg roll, which is in part funded with private funds and which, as you say, involves 35,000 people come to it, and
so you
it just would have made it look worse.
You think they dig a deeper hole if they cancel the
Sure.
egg roll?
Sure. Yeah,
I think the optics are terrible, Karl. I think the picture looks awful because the public shut out, but the politics of the politicians of Washington, they can bring 4 family members, all right, plus the member of Congress, and come in and be on the South Lawn while the public has been told no.
Well, let me tell you, most of the people who attend out of that 35,000 are not relatives of members of Congress. In fact, my experience was a lot of members of Congress. If you had young children, you wanted to come. If you were, maybe some grandchildren, but most of the people who come there, the vast majority, I'd say, 30,000 and 33,000 out of the total are ordinary Americans who somehow or another get a chance to come to the Easter egg roll.
But that's what the tour supported those people too.
Look, don't ask me.
It's like, some people can come in and some people can't.
Don't ask me to defend the incredibly stupid decision of the Obama White House. This was part of their offense to show how bad the sequester would be, and that blew up in their face. This was part of the, we're going to close the Washington Monument theory, that we're going to point out how bad the sequester is by making you, the ordinary people, feel the pain rather than doing things like canceling the GSA trip to Las Vegas. I mean, this was a bad mistake by the president to cancel the White House.
You're saying that they're in a box because they made a poor decision in the first place. That's what you're arguing.
Right.
I tell you what Republicans should do. They should boycott the Easter egg roll on the 1st of April. As silly as that may sound, they say we're not going to go.
I think they'd rather be, I think a better thing would be to have an oversight hearing to say, really, Secretary Napolitano, you could not find $74,000 a week that you could have for White House tours? What about canceling this? What about the waste in this? What about doing this? What about that? They could have a whole range of options. They could have found ways within the Homeland Security Department budget to pay the overtime for Secret Service to handle the White House tours.
Okay, now, so you don't disagree with that point then? You wonder if there could be a boycott, saying, this is not right. Okay, now, this all ties into the budget and spending. You brought a whiteboard today to make a point.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, 35 Democrats voted against their own party's budget proposal in the House. This is really unusual. Generally, there are only a couple of defectors, and here's why this is happening. And this battle is going to play out for months ahead. The Senate Democrat budget proposal has $184 billion more in spending this year than does the Republican House budget proposal, and $348 billion more in spending for next year, and $20 billion in new taxes this year, $40 billion in new taxes next year. Democrats are not going to want to be on record saying, oh, we want a lot more spending, most of it paid for by deficit, this year and next. So we're going to see a lot of defections from the Democrat budget resolution. We saw this vote yesterday in the Senate, which was, you talked with Stuart Varney about, repealing the medical device tax. We're likely to see a lot of defections from the White House and the Democratic leadership proposal to have a lot more spending this year and in coming years. And we saw the opening mark of that yesterday. Okay,
Peter Cottontail still on the schedule for the 1st of April. So we're going to bring you back, and we're going to continue this little discussion here about what's right and what's not, given the budget crunch here. Okay?
Bring back the White House tours. Bring back the White House tours.
We'll
bring back the White House tours.
Done. Thank you, Karl. Enjoy Austin. See you soon.